The basis of this video goes all the way back to when I worked at the Hilton Miami Downtown roughly 10 years ago. In those days, we used to give away upgrades left and right. In fact, I can distinctly remember a time when we had a walk-in guest that tried to check in with me, and they were a Diamond member, but they were only making a reservation based on if they could get a suite upgrade just as a walk-in guest. And I basically just turned them away, essentially, as a front desk agent. And this was definitely looked down upon in those days, to ever let a Diamond member walk away from the Hilton brand. It didn't matter what they were asking for. Basically, I was told I was supposed to give away the presidential suite if necessary. Those days are gone from hotels. Nowadays, they might give away, let's say, an ocean view as your upgrade, when we all know that the Diamond members, or whatever the top tier status is for that brand, we expect a suite upgrade. So starting off with how to get a suite upgrade at check-in, which is not the preferred way to do it, but let's just say you're in this scenario, and this happened to me actually for my current reservation. You need to do a little bit of research on the specific hotel that you're staying at and figure out what their target audience is. The current hotel I'm staying at, which is the Voco Ma Belle in Da Nang, Vietnam, is a very business-friendly hotel. They might classify you as a tourist guest if you come in dressed as a tourist. So if I were to kind of rewind and reposition myself, I definitely would have came in a little bit more dressed to impress. I got the impression that this specific hotel is not going to just give away suite upgrades to tourists or anyone like me that's booking with points. It's just weird, because when I checked in, even as a Diamond member, my points reservation was for a 2 twin room, which it's the only one I could book with a award reservation. But even with that, you can't tell me that there's no rooms available that are with a king bed, especially for a Diamond member. And then I got even more aggravated when later on I looked at the available rooms just on the app, and there were suite upgrades available and king beds available. They just didn't want to give it to me because I didn't look the part, essentially. The next thing you can take advantage of at check-in is knowing the occupancy rates. Now, you can't really just log in to your, let's say, your IHG account and get the exact percentage of how booked the hotel is, but you can look through the app and see, okay, for, let's say, a king bed, how many are available for that night. And that is a great indicator of how busy the hotel is. Most people book king beds that are solo travelers like me if it's available for the same price. So those go a little bit quicker. So you can kind of gauge how busy the hotel is just based on that alone. And you can use this to your advantage at check-in. And instead of asking for a suite upgrade, you can do this in a more pointed question way by saying, do you have any king beds available? And by checking beforehand, you know if it is available, and you might even see that the only king beds that are available are those suite upgrades, which is what you really want. So instead of asking for a suite upgrade, you just say, do you have any king beds available? If you have a higher tier status, you're going to be more likely to get that upgrade just for asking for the king bed versus, can I get a suite? Another way to ask for a suite upgrade without saying it is to use your preferences from your IHG account. Or let's say you're staying at Marriott, you can do it the same way. You use your preferences at check-in in the questions that you ask the front desk agent. So for me, I prefer high floors, nice views, and away from the elevator, less noisy. But what that also means is the suites tend to be those corner rooms, away from the elevator, high floor. So that's another kind of backhanded way of asking for a suite, even though you're not directly asking for a suite. It's just where those rooms are typically positioned, high floors, away from the elevator. And you can even say, do you have a corner room available? That's probably the best way of asking for a suite upgrade. And if those rooms are not a suite, those rooms tend to be a little bit bigger, not by much, but just a little bit bigger, because it's just the way the geometry of building hotels works. Those corner rooms are typically slightly bigger, and that's why they make them suites. Now, instead of asking for suite upgrades at check-in, because that's not the best way to do it, it's actually much better to position yourself ahead of the reservation. And the first way to do that is booking in intervals that are less than 5 nights for each part of your reservation. So let's say you're staying for 20 nights. If the front desk agents are actually doing their job and checking the long-term schedule for their availability, they're not going to give you a suite upgrade for a 20-night reservation. But especially the more busy they are, they're not going to be checking and connecting all of your reservations if you split it up. In this case, if you split up a 20-night reservation into 4 5-night reservations booked separately, they're not going to make the connection most of the time that all of those reservations are really one reservation. So what you can do is position yourself, make them 4 separate reservations of 5 nights, and then that first reservation is more likely to get a suite upgrade because the front desk agent checking you in more than likely only understands that you're staying there for 5 nights total. And the reason I say 5 nights specifically is because if you have a suite upgrade award request, you can also use that before you check in and upgrade that first portion of your total stay. I've noticed at a lot of hotels, they don't want to move you to a different room throughout your stay. Let's say you're going from a suite and then moving to a standard room. They're more likely to keep you in that suite if you booked it for the 5 nights first and then you stay there, versus them having to worry about switching you on any given night. Now, let's say you have the IHG Premier or Premier Business Card. The strategy changes a little bit. Let's say you're also trying to book with points. That means I would book in 4-night intervals, change this 20-night stay into 5 reservations of 4 nights. That way you can use, again, a suite upgrade for that first reservation and hopefully get the hotel staff to keep you in that room after you're already in that room. Because what you can do at that point, call down to the front desk after the first night or two and say that you've extended your stay essentially by adding on these separate reservations, and just ask if you can keep that same room, the one that you got with the suite upgrade award, and sometimes you can actually keep it. Or let's say that you have multiple suite night awards. Now you can use each one of those for each reservation separately, and then just have the front desk tie all those reservations together with your folio bill being just transferred from each reservation to the next one. This multiple consecutive reservation strategy also allows you to not only earn rewards faster, but to be able to redeem them during your long-term stay if your reservations are split up. So how do you do that? Let's say, my example, a total of 20 nights. If I have 4 separate reservations of 5 nights, that means after the first 5 nights, and if I also hit a milestone interval of 10 nights as well, now I can use those credits or Sweet Night awards that I'm earning from that milestone towards my current stay. But technically it's a new reservation, so you can now use those awards during your stay. Versus if you have everything booked all in one reservation together, then you won't receive those Sweet Night awards or credits for dining until after you depart. I also want the flexibility of reducing my reservation if necessary, if the points rates or cash rate changes throughout my long stay. Sometimes when the occupancy is not as high, the hotel will lower the rates during your long stay, and you might not even realize it if you're checked in and don't even check the new rates. So for my case, I was able to save on reducing this reservation by 4 nights, making a new reservation for those same 4 nights, and the points redemption changed to where it's no longer 48,000 points total, it's only 37,000 points, which was basically worth a whole extra night. And in the future, I can just use those points later for at least 1 extra night at another IHG property. An important note to make of how to shorten your stay with a points reservation like mine, you need to speak with an experienced IHG One rewards agent over the phone and have them make this change for you. You're not going to be able to get it done directly through the hotel. One, they don't really know, they don't understand the strategy of what you're trying to do, and they're just going to think that you're trying to leave early and then figure out why you're trying to leave early. It's just the communication is going to be off and they're not going to understand. What you need to do is just get in contact with IHG One Rewards with the experienced agent, which doesn't always happen on the first call. It took me about 3 calls, third call being today, where I got in touch with the right IHG One Rewards agent that knew my strategy and what I was trying to do, who was able to shorten my original reservation by 4 nights, make a new reservation for those same 4 nights under the new points rate, which was lower in this case, which is great, and also processed my Sweet Night award request upgrade as well. Let's do a little bit of recap of everything I just talked about. The goal of this entire strategy is to begin the process before you get to the hotel. It starts when you're doing the actual booking. After doing this a few times now and just kind of understanding the overall upgrade strategy and points game, I will no longer be making reservations for 20 nights, let's say. I'm going to make all of my reservations for 4 or 5 night intervals, depending if I'm booking with points or with cash, to stay within that threshold of using my Sweet upgrade awards. And also, anytime you're booking a reservation for a lesser amount of nights, you're more likely to get upgrades from the hotel staff. So it gives you more leverage in both directions. The other thing is, especially for someone like me that's traveling solo, it's much more attainable for me to get upgrades at check-in if I play the part and look like a business traveler when I'm checking into a business style hotel like I'm staying at now. I didn't realize that Da Nang is such a popular and kind of business hub the way it is, and this hotel specifically is holding a bunch of conventions while I'm staying here. So it makes sense that I should have found that out beforehand and just played the part. The last point in this recap is use your preferences on your rewards account as leverage to get Sweet Upgrade awards, as I mentioned before, without directly asking for it. You can set this up in advance on your account by just putting that high floor request away from the elevator. those small little things add up over time. It stacks the odds in your favor to get upgrades more often, especially when you book in those smaller intervals as well, 4 or 5 nights. So that brings us to the end of the video. I really enjoyed this one because I love beating the system in any way possible, especially with reward programs, in this case IHG. I'm starting to get more traction with this channel, and I would appreciate more subscribers. I'm starting to average about a couple hundred views per video, but let's get that subscription rate a lot higher, and I'll continue to bring more content to you guys and increase the overall value that you're getting from this channel. We'll see you in the next video.